What's up guys, Venom RB here. So today we are going to be talking about car licensing on Roblox. Now I've done a few hours of research for this video. I'm not just, looking and talking about the first article I read. So I figured that I at least have read enough to where I can probably shed some light on this situation. And unfortunately, this is going to be a list of reasons why I do not think that licensing will ever come to Roblox, whether that be Roblox licensing cars for everybody or an individual game licensing cars. So let's get right into the video. So the first problem with licensing on Roblox is going to be the cost of it. Companies or games have to reach out to the manufacturer, send a list of cars they want to license. The manufacturer has to get back to them with a price for those cars. And then, you can do whatever you want, haggle on it, give them the money, whatever you want to do, right? The problem is that's all fine and well for one company. If you're a Roblox game, maybe you can afford it. But Driving Empire or Ultimate Driving or Greenville has 40, 50, whatever it is, different types of manufacturers and hundreds of different cars, all of which have to individually be licensed. So that's going to cost you a lot of money to do. You're going to be spending tons and tons of money. And that's going to be hard to justify as a Roblox game that probably doesn't make that much money to begin with. Another problem with licensing is it expires, hence why games like older Forzas and older Need for Speeds go off sale, because the licensing expires or they don't want to maintain servers, but it's also because of licensing. So if a game spends all of their money, maybe say it's a 15-year investment for Greenville to spend all the money they have and buy all these cars, if the company's even allowed them to, and then, in 15 years they'll break even, right? Odds are the licensing will expire before then, and then they'll have to relicense those cars if they want to use it again. So not only is it extremely expensive, however, it's temporary. Now, the time it lasts depends on what you guys agreed on. However, it's not forever, and that's a big problem. So the first issue is, as expected, the price of it. The next issue, and this is not one that is as relevant today, and it's kind of even hard to figure this out, but it's happened in the past, so I figured I'd bring it up, and that is some games have exclusive rights to some cars, or at least did. For example, EA and Need for Speed had exclusive rights to Porsche from the year 2000 to the year 2016, which obviously, if you want Porsche in your game in that time frame, that's a problem because you can't. They did, however, license cars to Forza. EA did license Porsche cars to Forza. That probably cost Forza even more money, and that kind of money just really isn't an option for a Roblox game. Now, I don't know if car games currently have any exclusive agreements with cars. Just something to consider, that could be a reality, in which case, that car will not be able to be in the game no matter what. The next really list of reasons, kind of all under one thing, and in my opinion, the strongest case for why licensing will never make it to Roblox, is the limitations of what can be done with those cars, to those cars, what those cars can be used for. Basically, each manufacturer is going to send you what, those cars can be used for, what they can do, For example, Ford said in an interview they don't want to see their cars just randomly catch on fire or crash in unexplainable, just weird ways. And if that is the case for Ford, I would imagine every single company has a similar feeling of that. I doubt, Ferrari wants to see their cars just randomly bursting on fire either. They also want their vehicles to be as realistic as possible. When you get a car, they'll send you a bunch of information on it so you can ensure that it is as realistic as possible visually, how it performs and stuff like that. And Ford said they don't want games to just soup the vehicles up and then somebody get that car and be disappointed that it's way slower than they expected or something along those lines. And then certain brands, such as Ferrari, don't want crazy customization. For example, Ferrari limited what decals you could put on their cars in a certain Forza Motorsport game. So, and then finally, not all brands want their cars to be used in games like GTA, where you can run over people. Actually, I think pretty much no brands want to see their cars running over people or animals or doing dumb stuff. So there's just a long list, and there are more things I am sure that, car companies don't want to see their cars doing. That's just the stuff that can be confirmed they do not want their cars doing. And that alone right there, in my opinion, is the best case for why licensing just won't happen on Roblox, because one of those things is at least broken by pretty much every single game, and there are more that aren't listed that are for sure broken as well. Now, this is the last point I'm going to be talking about before we move on to why individual games won't license cars, and then why Roblox won't license cars for everybody. And that is, what do these companies really gain out of letting Roblox or individual games license their cars? Because no 8-year-old's gonna go down to a dealership and buy a Kia or, something like that. It could interfere with their other games. And then a point I'm gonna address here, because I know I will see a bunch of comments on it if I don't, is, well, I've loved insert X car because of insert X game. And I feel the same way. For example, the Lamborghini Egoista. I really like that car simply because of Vehicle Simulator. I had it, 5 years ago. If I didn't play Vehicle Simulator, I would not care about that car. And that is a good point, except for the fact that we got to remember, yes, you might feel a little more of a connection to Lamborghini because you had the car in Driving Empire, right? But it's Lamborghini. Everybody still knows who they are. And, when you're 35, are you going to feel that connection anymore? Should you be a millionaire looking to buy a Lamborghini? Or if you're 55, or even if you're 20, are you really going to get a Lamborghini because you got that connection with it in Driving Empire? If you do, cool, but there's going to be so few people who do that for pretty much every car. And then there's other car games out there off Roblox that give you the same experience anyways. So I figured I would just address that right now, is that really does not matter that much. So now that we've talked about the problems with licensing cars and why it doesn't make sense for a company to, let Roblox license their cars, now let's talk about why individual games probably aren't going to be able to license cars. First up, we already covered it. It's way too expensive. Next up, too crazy of requirements. As I said, sure, Midnight Racing, maybe they could, get a few cars if they could even afford it, because, they're pretty tame with what you can do. But even then, there's going to be problems. And then finally, there's just not enough developers for small games to manage it. Forza Horizon, for example, has an employee whose only purpose is to make sure that all the cars meet up with their licensing requirements. And games like Midnight Racing can't spare a person to do that. They can't spend all this time and money making sure everything is perfect for these companies. So it's just not that likely to work out. And you can say that about any small game, even, Driving Empire, which is owned by Voldex, which is a fairly large team, does not have the money, would not meet the requirements, can't spare the people to do it. There's just a bunch of things that go into it that we can confirm that they can't even handle, not even considering everything else that comes with licensing that we either don't know about or is speculative and stuff like that. So it's just way too much for a small game to manage 30 different car company licensing agreements. And so that brings us on to Roblox, because Roblox does have a lot of money. They do have a lot of employees. So you would think, well, okay, why don't they just license cars for everybody? And so I think the first reason, and the biggest reason by far that they really won't and can't, is it's impossible due to the amount of different types of even car games. Say they just license cars for every car game, not even every game on their platform. You have games like Car Crushers 2, and you have games like Project Track Day, right? Project Track Day, race game. Maybe Ferrari would be cool seeing their race car in their Porsche, right? You think they want to see their car get crushed in Car Crushers 2? Probably not. And that's not even taking into account games like Brookhaven. Like, would they be cool with that? Maybe, maybe not. I do not know. And then there's also the fact that there's, 8-year-old little Timmy on his mom's iPad. Actually, I don't think you can have Studio on iPad, but on his mom's laptop. And his game is where you drive a Lamborghini into a toilet bowl, right? Roblox has to moderate all those. Roblox has to pay attention to every single game and make sure they are using these cars in the correct way, or they could be in legal trouble or whatever else, right? So I think it's just quite unrealistic for Roblox to license it just in that way. I mean, they can't even moderate their own website for basic stuff. How are they supposed to moderate all these different cars and what they're each doing in each specific game? That would just be impossible for them to do. Another thing, it's a lot of money for Roblox still to spend on a relatively small game genre. Yes, a lot of games have cars in them, but games like Adopt Me, Brookhaven, Bloxburg, really popular games, their cars are fake anyways. So why would they? It just doesn't really matter. There's no reason for the developers to really add real cars, even if Roblox licensed them, and they already don't use real cars, so they're not affected. Really, it's just car games that are affected, which, while yes, they still are relatively large, it's not that big of a player base compared to other games. And the final reason car companies aren't that likely to license their cars out to Roblox anyways. This is Roblox we're talking about. They have a horrible reputation all over the place. So it's just not that likely. So now let's just get to the conclusion. So the conclusion to this entire video, if you couldn't tell and if you didn't hear when I gave you the answer in the first 5 seconds, is licensing just is not that likely to come to Roblox. Now, is it impossible? No, I'm not going to say it's impossible because I don't want to sound dumb in 10 years if it ever comes out. However, I would put money on it, all of my money, that licensing will not come anytime soon. Maybe in 10 years if Roblox cleans up their act and, figures some stuff out, it'll happen. But right now, the way everything stands, licensing is too expensive. There's too many factors that go into it. It's just not a very feasible thing to consider that would be added to Roblox. So unfortunately, I doubt licensing will come. I'm sorry if you want to continue holding out hope, you do your thing. But I think after I've just listed what I've listed, there's no reason to hope for it at all. With that being said, thank you all for watching this video. If you have anything else to add on licensing, maybe you're an expert or something like that, I don't know, let me know down in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear it. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Venom out.